What is the strangest unsolved mystery? That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again. The 169th victim of the Oklahoma City bombing. They found an additional leg in the rubble. DNA tests showed it belonged to another victim who had already been buried but with the wrong leg. The wrong leg had already been embalmed, so they could not get DNA at the time. So who did this leg belong to? All other legs had been accounted for in other victims. They found no other body parts. And nobody else had been reported missing. It was only until 2015 they could get DNA from the leg. But it's still classified as a John Doe. A few conspiracy theories had pop up, like maybe a second bomber that got caught in the blast, but it's still unknown. What happened to Ireland's most beloved racehorse Shergar? It's widely believed the IRA kidnapped him for ransom and ended up shooting him to death as he got too much to deal with. However, even long after ending their campaign, the IRA has been admitting to the kidnappings and killings of several people, especially in relation to the disappeared, but haven't mentioned Shergar once. Surely they would have come out and claimed responsibility by now if they were behind it. The Taman Shud murder is so beyond bizarre. They think he was poisoned. But they don't know with what. They don't know who the guy was because he had no ID on him and all his clothes had the tags ripped off. Then there's the brown suitcase. The fact that he was seen alive. I think a full day earlier in the same spot they found his body. Oh, and the strange number code they don't understand. They generally think it has to do with some hardcore Cold War spy shit. But who knows? The stone spheres of Costa Rica. Basically huge spheres that no one has any fucking clue who put them there, or perhaps more importantly, how. The Phoenix Lights. I'm not a big UFO nut, but this is just fucking creepy. Thousands of people, including the governor, saw them. The governor, if memory serves, was a pilot. And when the government came out with their report, flares. After that, some type of plane. The governor, once out of office of course, called bullshit. No real explanation. The Keddy murders. In 1981, Glenna Sharp, her son John, 15, his friend Dana, 17, were found beyond brutally murdered by Glenna's eldest daughter Sheila. She found them, not murdered them. They had been staying in cabin 28 in the Keddy resort. Sheila had stayed with her friends in cabin 27 and found the bodies in the morning. Her sister, Tina, 12, was missing and her remains were later found some 28 miles away after an anonymous tip was called in. The twist here is that in cabin 28 there were also 3 small children found alive and unharmed in their bedroom. Most people on Reddit have probably heard about it. But Oak Island, also known as the Money Pit, is a pretty big mystery. In 1795, Daniel McGuinness, of Nova Scotia, saw lights coming from the uninhabited Oak Island. Named because, well, it's full of oak trees. He and some friends went to the island and found a large circular depression. So, they started digging and discovered a layer of flagstones a few feet below. On the pit walls there were visible markings from a pick. As they dug down they discovered layers of logs at about every 10 feet. They gave up at 30 feet. That's just the beginning. The Onslow Company picked up where McGuinness and his friends left off, reaching a depth of 90 feet, finding layers of logs every 10 feet and layers of charcoal, putty and coconut fiber at 40, 50 and 60 feet. It should be noted that coconuts and thus their fibers aren't native to anywhere near Nova Scotia. Somewhere between 80 and 90 feet they found a coded rock that was translated saying something like, 40 feet down. £2 million lie buried. This is getting long Surltl. Doctorate. The pit floods. And not like a, oh we'll just pump out the water flood. The water comes in from 3 parts of the island with the tide. Many people and companies have tried to reach the bottom. But with no success. If interested, there is tons and tons of info on this. If people are interested in these, I've got like dozens more. This kinda shit has been a fascination of mine since I was around 6 years old, so let me know if you want more. Asha Degree. Lived in my town. In 2000. She walked out of her home willingly at age 9 in the middle of the night on Valentine's Day during a massive storm. She was sighted multiple times walking down an extremely rural and desolate highway by herself in the pouring rain and then was never seen again. Her book bag was discovered miles away buried in a trash bag a year later. How was a 9-year-old convinced to leave her home alone in the middle of the night? In a storm. To walk down a deserted highway? How has there been no substantive leads at all since 2001? The location of Heinrich Müller, the final Gestapo chief. He was last seen in Berlin, roughly 3 days before it fell. At the time, he claimed to be fully aware of what the Russians did to POWs and that he had no intention of being taken prisoner. He most likely had access to foreign documents as the Gestapo leader and knew how to duplicate them. He was sought after by the CIA and the KGB. But nothing of him has ever been discovered.